So when I say Cloudflare, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably website protection, right? And hey, you're not wrong, but that is just barely scratching the surface. Today, we're going to dive into everything else that's going on under the hood.
Okay, so we've established Cloudflare is a total powerhouse for keeping websites safe. But what about, well, everything else? The actual corporate networks, the folks working from home, all those internal apps, and the data that really makes a business tick. That's what we're going to unpack. All right, let's kick things off at the most fundamental level, the network itself. Because let's be real, if your network foundation is shaky, everything you build on top of it is just waiting to fall over.
Imagine this for a second. An attacker doesn't just go after one of your websites. Nope. They target your entire corporate network. What do? Well, that's the exact problem Magic Transit was built to solve. It's designed to shield your whole setup. We're talking data centers, cloud environments, the works, from those huge denial-of-service attacks that could literally knock your company offline.
And here's a fantastic way to picture this. Protecting a single website, that's like putting a guard on one building. But Magic Transit, that's like throwing a giant unbreakable force field over the entire city. We're talking a completely different scale of protection here.
Okay, so your network is now safe from outside attacks. Awesome. But now, how do you actually connect all the different pieces? You've got offices all over the world, data centers, stuff in the cloud. How do you make it all work as one seamless unit? Well, that's where Magic WAN steps in.
See, for ages, companies relied on this thing called MPLS to connect everything. And honestly, it was a nightmare. Super expensive, really complicated, and making a change felt like it took forever. Magic WAN is basically like tearing out that ancient, costly system of private toll roads and replacing it with a single, super-fast global highway. It's way more cost-effective and just built for how businesses actually work today.
All right, so protecting the pipes and the plumbing, the infrastructure is crucial. But what about the people who are actually using it every single day? Let's switch gears and talk about how you protect your team.
And that brings us right to Cloudflare Gateway. The easiest way to think about this is like a security checkpoint for all the internet traffic coming from your employees. Its whole job is to filter what's going out and stop people from accidentally wandering onto a malicious or unsafe website.
Yeah, to put it simply, it's basically a really smart internet filter for the entire company. It's a super important first line of defense for just everyday web browsing. But okay, what happens when an employee has to go to a website that might be a little sketchy? This is where remote browser isolation, or RBI, gets super clever. Instead of that risky site loading on the person's actual computer, it runs the whole browser session in a totally secure, isolated sandbox up in the cloud. Here's the analogy for this, and it's a great one. Imagine you're using a remote control to operate a browser that's physically behind a thick sheet of bulletproof glass. If something bad happens, if some malware tries to execute, it all happens over there, in that sealed-off room. Your own device, it stays perfectly clean and safe.
Okay, so moving on to internal apps. For what feels like a century, the answer was the good old VPN, right? Which, as we all know, was usually slow, clunky, and honestly, it gave people way too much access once they were in. The new way of thinking is called Zero Trust, and Cloudflare's tool for this is called Cloudflare Access.
So instead of giving someone a master key that unlocks the whole building, access is more like a digital ID badge. Every single time a user wants to open a specific app, they have to prove who they are, right then and there. It's so much more precise and way more secure than any old VPN.
And we can't talk about security without talking about email. It's still the #1 way attackers get a foothold in a company. That's what Cloudflare Area 1 is all about. And this is way more than just a spam filter. It's a really advanced system that's actively hunting for those tricky phishing scams and business email compromise attacks, and it stops them before they even have a chance to land in an inbox.
All right, so we've covered the network and we've covered the people. Now let's move up the stack and look at the actual applications and the data that your business really depends on.
Pretty much every modern company lives and breathes in SaaS apps, right? Google Drive, Slack, Microsoft 365, you name it. A Cloud Access Security Broker, or CASB for short, is a tool that is constantly scanning those apps. It's looking for risks, things like data leaks, files that were accidentally shared with the whole world, or just dangerous security settings.
So a really easy way to think about the CASB is like a dedicated security inspector that's just for your cloud applications. It's always on patrol, checking for unlocked doors and open windows, just making sure your important data is staying put.
Okay, now for something a little different, and this is really cool. It's called Xeris. This tool is interesting because it tackles both performance and security at the same time.
You know all those heavy third-party scripts from analytics and marketing tools? Xeris takes them off the user's browser and runs them on Cloudflare's own network instead. What's the result? A way faster, much safer, and more private experience for anyone visiting your website.
Next up, we've got a super practical little tool called email routing. It's simple, but it's incredibly useful. It lets you create custom email addresses on your own domain. You know, like info@yourcompany.com, and then just forward all that mail to your main inbox. You get the professional address without any of the headache or cost of running a full-blown mail server.
So, okay, we've looked at all these individual pieces, services for networks, for people, for apps, but the real magic, the real power here is how all of this stuff works together. It's not just a collection of tools, it's a single, unified platform.
And the brain powering this entire operation is something called Cloudflare Intel. Now, this isn't a product you can just go out and buy. It's the collective intelligence, the threat data that Cloudflare gathers from the millions and millions of sites on its network. Think of it like a massive global watch list of all the bad actors online, and that data feeds back into every single service we've just talked about, making all of them smarter and stronger in real time.
So this brings us full circle, right back to the question we asked at the very beginning. Are these tools really about more than just protecting websites?
And the answer is a huge, definitive yes. We're talking about protecting your entire network, securing your global connectivity, filtering your employees' internet use, locking down your internal apps, stopping sophisticated email attacks, securing your data in all those SaaS apps. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that we're looking at a single, comprehensive platform. It covers your network, your users, your applications, and your data, all managed from one place. It's really a complete rethinking of what security and networking for modern companies should look like.